Today, it's honor. We're making a katana and telling the story of a famous samurai. More than 1,000 years ago, in Japan, out of ordinary farming clans, a movement of warriors arose. And they were called the samurai.
Starting out simply to defend themselves and their farms from injustice, they developed armor, weapons, skill, and even a culture.
They were bound together by strength and loyalty, and the samurai rose in strength, power, and consequence. They were unstoppable against armies that outnumbered them even 4-1, until the 12th century. The Brotherhood became the ruling power in Japan and the inspiration to school children everywhere, even today.
But why were they so successful? What did they have? What was the difference?
Well, if you've ever been in a real sword fight, then you'll know there are a few key essential ingredients. Skill, the right weapon, and the ability to accept death. Seeing as we're making a katana, we're going to start with the weapon.
Now, any swordsmith will know that there's a very difficult balancing act between how hard and therefore how sharp something is and how supple you can keep the sword. Too hard and it will shatter, too soft and it will not hold an edge. It had to be weighty enough to overpower and yet not too heavy to lift. The samurai's weapon is their soul, and they had worked out something that we hadn't. And anybody who's made a katana will remember it. It's possible, by covering part of the blade with clay, to harden just the edge, the part that you're going to keep sharp, and leave the rest of it supple. This meant that you could make a sword that was very light. If you put a samurai with a katana up against a normal soldier with a broadsword, it's got this massive heavy thing swinging it about. These were light and fast and still incredibly sharp. They were by far the superior weapon. This is sort of replicating that.
We've got the ebony in the center, which is super hard, and then a softer wood that surrounds it. So you get the suppleness of the bulk of the sword, and yet you've still got all the edge-holding hardness of the ebony, which, you know, you could fracture, you could chip, but it will hold an edge perfectly.
Tori Matatada was a samurai of unsurpassed skill. Born in 1539, he fought as a high-ranking feudal lord under Tokugawa, the military leader of Japan. Tori commanded great respect and was loved by Tokugawa, and had famously attacked an army of 10,000 with just 2,000 of his own and won. But his final acts began when he and Tokugawa were warned that an army of 40,000 hardened battle warriors were on their way to Fushimi Castle. Woefully outnumbered and defenceless, they had time to flee, but were likely to be overtaken. They needed time to regroup their forces and plan in order to defeat their army.
Tori decided that he and 2,000 warriors would remain at Fushimi Castle to face the 40,000 strong army. Defeat was certain, but they needed to give Tokugawa time to get away and regroup. They parted with great sadness. They knew they were best of friends, that they would never see each other again.
Tokugawa regrouped, raised an army of 90,000, and went on to win a decisive victory which unified Japan. He and his family ruled there for centuries.
But Tori, on the other hand, ordered his 2,000 men to charge in to battle over and over again, until only 10 remained. And with the castle in flames around him, barely able to walk from his injuries, he performed seppuku, which is a suicide ritual for an honourable death. And the people, of course, never forgot Tori Matatada. But what makes a person willing to die? For Tori, the answer was honour. And honour, of course, has two meanings. It means to be honoured, to be respected, to be exalted, to be impressive. But it also means to know and do what is right, regardless of whether or not that's actually going to benefit you.
Tori wrote these words to his son. It is not the way of the warrior to be shamed and avoid death, even under circumstances that are not particularly important. It goes without saying that to sacrifice one's life for the sake of his master is an unchanging principle. The soul of a samurai is like his sword, hard and sharp enough to bring about his will, yet light and supple enough to bend to the moral principles that are beyond him. Honour is to stick to our word and our morality, even when it seems that the result cannot benefit us.
To not let the smallness of our own self get in the way of the greatness of what we are building.
Darling, can you help me with the bins?
Oh, no, I did it last week.
Oh, it's for the greater good.